Okay, it is officially almost August. This is for the month of August, this reading, and all the upcoming changes that are happening this month. So let's get started. Begin by taking a look at all the changes that are happening in the month of August. So we're starting off on the first day of August strong with a full moon in the sign of Sidereal Capricorn. And then on the 6th, Venus, retrograding currently in the sign of Leo, will go back into its Gandanta point in the sign of Cancer. And this is where it will remain for the remainder of the retrograde of Venus until October. And Venus back in the sign of Cancer, where it will be for the longest time, is really going to have us reassess whatever was happening for us back in June and back in May. So take a look at what was happening then, because this is what the rest of the retrograde will look like. Same thing as whatever was happening back in December, November of 2022. This is what we will be revisiting. Wherever Cancer is placed in your chart, that's going to be a very important house. This is where the bulk of the retrograde is happening. And we'll get into like the exact signs in a little bit. Then on the 17th, the sun enters, it leaves Cancer and it enters Leo finally. And the sun really loves being in the sign of Leo. So I'm really looking forward to this transit. And that will be after the 17th of August. Then on the 18th, Mars leaves the sign of Leo and it enters the sign of Virgo. And then on the 23rd, we have a Mercury retrograde beginning in the sign of Leo, sitting with the sun. First, Mercury gets combust, which means that it gets really, really close to the sun. And when there's a planet that's really close to the sun, what ends up happening is that planet will burn. The sun will burn that planet, the significations of that planet. So there could be a lot of miscommunication. And then a few days later, we enter this Mercury retrograde in the sign of Leo, along with sun being there as well. So that's going to be a pretty interesting time. It's very important for us to watch our communications and all of that. But I'm going to do a separate video on this. And then on the 31st, we end the month with a full moon in Aquarius, opposite Saturn and opposite this Mercury retrograde in Leo, and opposite sun in Leo. And that is all the transits for the month of August. The signs that are getting the most impacted this month, or whatever house you have these signs in, will be Cancer, so the moon, and also Leo. These are the most action is happening for these signs. So these signs are really feeling, especially the rising and moon signs. Leo rising and moons are feeling a lot of tension around them, a lot of energy, a lot of things unfolding in their lives. And the same can be said for the opposite sign of Aquarius, because a lot of the energy is looking directly at their first house. But now we'll get into what it means for all the rising and moon signs. So let's get started. And moons, you're starting the month off strong with this full moon in your 10th house. That's really, really making you it's looking at your 4th house of home. So whatever began for you back in but 6 months ago, back in February, you're really taking a look at it and you're finally feeling you're closing that chapter. It could be relating to your career. It could be relating to your home life. Maybe some of you could have moved. Some of you could have changed careers, or finally just like closing that chapter and feeling more at home in your career, or feeling more at peace with the decisions that you made. The ruler is sitting in the 11th house, opposite Venus retrograde, where it will be for the first half of the month. And so the first half of the month, a lot of your energy is going towards having fun, your friendships, your creative endeavors, lovers, and even an institution. This Saturn in the 11th house is bringing some delays and some issues as it pertains to your communication with institutions, with career, as well as with your friendships. Especially after Mercury goes retrograde in your 5th house, you need to be very careful with the words that you speak, because Saturn is looking right at that Mercury retrograde, and this is going to have a lot of impact. Your words right now are very impactful, so you have to be extra careful. If you own your own business, or if you have children, be very careful with the words that you use with them at this time, because you can be a little bit too imposing or in command too much from them, and they might not be able to give you what you're asking for. As of right now, the first half of the month, especially after the 6th, Venus will re-enter your 4th house. So you're rearranging the terms of what you need in order to feel at peace at home. That's the first half of the month. And then the second half of the month, once Sun enters your 5th house, you're feeling more at peace, but you're learning what it is that you love, what it is that you want out of your career, out of your aspirations, out of your creative endeavors, maybe with your children. You're feeling more like you're feeling more like you need to revise and revisit things that relate to your home and your career environment. And this will be after the 6th around there. Then by the end of the month, we will have a full moon in your 11th house. So some kind of closure around friendships. A lot of the energy for you that's happening this month is between your 11th and 5th house, and then 4th and 10th. This is a big month for you, actually. Big month for you, because this month you're renegotiating the terms of what you need from your home life, your career, your legacy, as well as your friendships and your inner happiness and your creative endeavors. This could be a month when a wish fulfillment comes true, but almost towards the end, after a lot of hard work in terms of your career, in terms of your business. If you own your own business or if you work in media, this is a good month to be very creative, or to pick back up a creative work that you started years ago or months ago. This is also a good month to move if you were planning to move for a while now, or just like rearranging the terms of what makes you feel at home, what makes you feel at peace and happy within the context of your career and your environment. The end of the month in March, when we have the full moon in your 11th house, you're going to be closing a chapter, like I mentioned earlier, as it pertains to your career, to your friendships, to your connections. And this was and this could bring in a wish fulfillment that you made 6 months ago around March. And this can have anything to do with your business, with your creative endeavors, with your friendships, even your love life. There could be like an old lover that tries to come into your life this month, or you really rearranging the terms of what you want out of your relationships, or you just thinking a lot about what you need to change in order to have happier relationships, happier love life, and to feel a lot more at home within yourself. So this is a month that's all about your self-worth and really acknowledging it and really stepping into what it is that you need in order to feel worthy, in order to tap into what makes you happy within the context of your friends and within the context of your career and legacy and your home life and your relationships. So this is an important month for you of a lot of realizations that will come to you throughout the month. So pay attention to this month, because it's going to have a long-term impact for you. Up to the next sign, which is Taurus. Taurus rising and Taurus moon. So this month begins with the full moon on the 1st and is happening over your 9th house. So this is a closing of a chapter as it pertains to your beliefs and your immediate everyday type of life, how you relate to that, how your beliefs around your everyday life, how you communicate is very important. So this is a time when you're closing a chapter in your beliefs, you're closing a chapter in maybe even siblings, in your courage, your sense of courage, or whatever you set out to do 6 months ago back in February is finally coming to a closure. Everything is sort of making sense now. Everything is sort of showing up for you. So this is a time when whatever you believed back then, you're now getting some clarity on, and you are able to communicate your truth, or at least closing a chapter in that. This could be a time when you have some kind of revelations in terms of what you need to do with your friendships, your courage, how you speak, what you speak. All of that is going to be very important this month. So think back about what was happening in your life back in February, because you're closing that chapter now. Now, this month, the beginning of it is going to be all about your home life and your career. Like there's some tension in between the two. You're trying to juggle what makes you feel at home, or there's some things that you're having to revisit when it comes to your home life from back in January, February. even March. So you're having to revisit these things around your home life and your happiness and your career life, and you're trying to juggle both. There's a lot of pressure in your career side that's really interfering with your sense of happiness and with feeling at ease in your home life, in your home environment. After the 6th, Venus will retrograde back into your 3rd house of courage, communication, and then Mercury goes retrograde in your 4th house of home on the 23rd. So after the 23rd, you need to really watch out. Actually, all month, you need to really be cautious of the things that you say, especially in your career, the promises that you make, your spending, how you driving, all of those things are really important for you to really do an inventory about and really have some kind of keep in mind, or have some kind of side like where you're checking off like what's appropriate to say and what isn't, because all of that is coming back. You're feeling a lot of pressure. And you're feeling like you really need to juggle things. Your expenses are really high right now as well, but at the same time, this is because your home life is like, or your family or your sense of happiness right now is more important to you, and you're really choosing wisely who is allowed in your inner circle and who isn't. And you're not afraid this month to just cut off anyone or anything that isn't aligned with your values and what you have created as a value system for you this month. So another thing I do want to say about the Taurus risings and moons is that you need to be careful this month with your that digestion. It could be the case that maybe you're not eating properly, or the foods that you're eating are causing you some type of like digestion issues. So just be careful with the foods that you eat. Be extra cautious when eating. Make sure you're not eating foods that are too spicy or like that are causing you stomach aches, because you can have some kind of digestive issues this month. It's looking a little bit grim when it comes to that area. However, I will say that your expenses have been up for a long time, since 2021 December, because you've had Rahu in the 12th house. So that always brings up expenses, but you are becoming more aligned with your purpose and your home life. So there's something about your sense of happiness at home that you're rearranging this month, especially up until the 6th, and then the second half of the month after Sun enters your 4th house on the 17th. So once Venus retrogrades back into your 3rd house, you're going to revisit things that pertain to your willpower and your speaking up and speaking your truth around things, and really having the strength and the willpower to revisit things from the past that deal with your dharma, that deal with your karma, that deal with your speech. And then at the end of the month, on the 31st, we end the month with a full moon in your 10th house of career. So this will bring a completion, or like a full circle of the 6 months ago, a chapter that you started in your career, or a promise that you made to yourself, a manifestation that you made to yourself around 6 months ago that pertain to your career life. Okay, so stress a little bit more the fact that the Taurus rising and moons really need to take care of their health, because the thing is that this Venus retrograde is really impacting you, Cancers and Leos, the most, because you're the ruler of your ascendant, and Libras as well. The ruler of your ascendant is going retrograde. So when the ruler of who you are, the person that you are, is going retrograde, that's always going to impact you the most. So your vitality, your sense of self is really going backwards. It's getting stuck. So it's very important that, because this could put you at higher risk of infections, of viral issues. So make sure that you're really having a strong routine, work, exercising, breathing well, as well as eating your food habits. And like going for runs, even when you don't, just force yourself to like really get yourself up and sleep well, have those 8 hours of sleep per night, because if not, you're more susceptible than other signs for your health to be impacted. Once the sun goes into the 4th house, the sun doesn't really particularly like being in the 4th house, because the sun is all about authority, and the 4th house is our inner and most vulnerable self. So when the sun mid-month after the 17th goes into your fourth house, you're going to feel this sense of having to take on authority when you really all you want to do is be emotional, and all you want to do is be in your comfort zone of your home, of your career. And then you're having to like put up this front and be this authority figure in an area of life where you're just trying to like feel your emotions. So you might feel a little bit uncomfortable. However, you will have the vitality necessary to show up for yourself and to really be the leader that you need to be within the confinements of your home. If you work at home, or if you have a home business, or if you work at home, or if you're a homemaker, then this is a great transit for you, because it means that people are going to notice your authority. People are really going to take notice of all the work that you have done up until now that has gone unnoticed. So people are really going to take notice of everything that you do, and that's a really good thing. After the 18th, Mars goes into your fifth house, which is going to really highlight and bring an emphasis to your creative side. Maybe you might be a little bit more critical and more particular than you usually are when it pertains to your children, if you have children, or when it pertains to your romantic partners. If you're single, this will be a time when you'll have a lot of energy to meet someone, or to just put yourself out there, or just like if you work in creative fields, this is a really good energy to like really have the strength to put out work, to put out creative work. If you have your own business, you're going to have a lot of energy to work on your business. However, now on the 23rd, a few days afterwards, the ruler of your fifth house is going retrograde in the fourth house. So all this energy that you have for creative work, you're pouring it into your home life, and you're revisiting something from the past in your home life that dealt with your creativity. This is especially impactful for people who work from home. This is especially impactful for people who are homemakers, or for people who work in creative fields, or for people who work in fields that deal with taking care of others, like nurse, or a doctor, or like a home taker. This is especially important for you because you're going to have to be revisiting something from the past, or if you work with children as well, you're revisiting something that could have occurred like maybe back in, like I would say like February, March, or even like May, around there. You could be revisiting something from that cycle at this time. Maybe something that you overlooked. Be careful with your communication around your children, what type of information you put out there into the world, to your friends, to your family, what you're learning, because you're going to have so much energy to like spare, but at the same time, it's like you're not meant to create something new. You're meant to revisit something from the past. So if you had these creative hobbies from the past, now's the time that you can pick them back up. It's a really good time for that. Especially those people that you love, that are closest to you, especially after the 17th, or even now, can have a little bit more to say to you, can be a little bit extra critical of you, or you of them at this time, this month. So just like avoid miscommunication and confrontations, especially with your friends, especially with your loved ones, with your family, with your mom, with the people that live with you at home, or if you work on your own, or with your business partners, or if you work for somebody. Be careful with confrontation at work. With Mercury retrograde, there's bound to be errors, right? There's always going to be errors that we have to look over, that we have to look back on. So just expect it and take it on with stride as a way to learn something new, instead of being defensive about it, because it's just going to happen regardless. It's going to happen for you, especially because Sun is going to be opposite Saturn in your 10th house of career. So there was something around your career that maybe you've overlooked that's going to come up during Mercury retrograde after the 23rd. However, don't be afraid, because this is for the better ultimately, because it's not a bad position for Sun being opposite Saturn. It's going to bring you, after you've fixed or revisited whatever it is you need to revisit, then Saturn is going to reward you with something in terms of your career. Now, the full moon, like I mentioned, is happening in your 10th house. So this might be around the full moon time when you get these revelation around what it is that you have to fix in order for your home life and your career to be balanced. This could mean some of you might be moving if you were planning to move prior, back in those months that I mentioned, like beginning of the year. If you were planning that back then it's a possibility that it happens now. And now we're off to the next sign, which is Gemini. Rising and moon. We start off the month with a full moon in your ninth house, in your eighth house. So you're starting off the month completing a cycle that deals with your sense of security, that deals with your family, that deals with your resources. That chapter is now closed. The chapter started back in December, November, even beginning of January, and now you're closing that chapter. You're done with that chapter, sort of thing. And now we're focusing more on this Venus retrograde, Mercury and Mars, because you have a lot of energy that's going to be happening in your third house. Okay, so the first half of the month up until the 6th of August, this Venus retrograde is in your third house, which means that this Venus retrograde is really giving you a lot of strength, in the sense of you have a lot of courage. You're not putting up with bullshit from people. People from the past are coming into your life and you're not putting up with their bullshit. You're saying it straight up. But at the same time, there's this conflict in between your higher beliefs, what you believe is right, and then your actions. Where part of you is trying to stand up for yourself. Part of you is trying to convey your truth, but then the other part of you is like, wait, is this truly my belief? You know, do I believe in my conviction? So it can be a little bit of hit or miss, but at the same time, this is a very courageous month where you have a lot of strength to take action towards your goals, especially if there were goals that you've had from the past, especially if there were goals that you've had from 2007, 2008, 2012 through 2013, or even like beginning of this year. This is a really good month for that. Like your wishes, your luck is on your side in a way, especially first half of the month. Then the second half of the month, the Venus retrograde goes into your second house of family and finances and resources, and is looking at your eighth house. So you're going to be revisiting your resources and how you spend your money and how you feel secure within yourself, within your family, the role that you play there. You're going to want to change the role that you play in the context of your security, in the context of your family. And then the ruler of your ascendant, Mercury, is going retrograde in your third house on the 23rd of August. And this is going to be very important because Mercury retrogrades impact you tremendously because you're a Mercury ruled sign. So you're going to have Venus retrograde in your second house of financial stability and security and what you value and family. And then in your third house of courage and siblings and business and friends and neighborhood, you're going to have Mercury retrograde. So all of your energy is going towards your family, your courage, standing up for yourself. It's going to feel like you're at war with everyone around you, almost like everyone's coming at you and you're having to defend your point of view and you're having to defend yourself every step of the way. But ultimately, this is teaching you a lesson around your courage. If you're an entrepreneur or have a business, or if you like to write or disseminate information through the media, or if you work with cars, this is a great time because people are seeing you as an authority figure, especially after the 17th when Sun enters your third house and is opposite Saturn. So you're going to be seen as an authority figure, as somebody who has who speaks with conviction and who knows what they're saying. And this is a really good placement for those people who, like I said, are entrepreneurs, have their own business, or just speak for a living, because your words are going to be extremely motivational to others, but you are going to have to revisit something from the past after Mercury goes retrograde. And this can have to do with your sense of self, your sense of security, your sense of stability, your courage, your communication, your friends, your relationships, old lovers, or even just like your siblings as well. Okay. Thing for the Geminis is that be careful when you're driving. There's a lot of action in your third house happening, so don't text and drive. Don't just be extra cautious when you're driving, you know, be extra careful. Don't be aggressive. Don't get into fights while driving. Don't get into arguments because, you know, it's like you're feeling very powerful. Your courage is at an all-time high. Third house deals with driving, short distance travels around. So just be careful with that. Other people can be aggressive with you while you're driving, or just like in general. Another thing is that be careful with your digestion and the foods that you put into your stomach, into your body. You will have a lot of courage this month to get into a good like workout routine if that's what you wanted to do. This is a good month to start that if you haven't, or to pick that back up because you have a lot of strength and a lot of courage this month. Now, this is another good time for those people who like to publish, read, write, who work in media, because it's like others are really understanding and taking in the things that you speak. Your words are like authority. Your words are like magic. Like, so everything that you say is very impactful this month. After the retrograde, it's just gonna, you're revisiting something, you know, it's bound to happen. We're all going to revisit something during Mercury retrograde, but it's especially impacting you because you are a Gemini rising. It rules over your ascendant. So any placement of Mercury is going to be very impactful for you. Now, after the 18th, Mars, the planet of action and aggression, goes into your fourth house. So all of this energy that you've had, all this courage, is now being directed towards your home life. And this can feel a little bit heavy because you're feeling like you need to make so many changes in your home life in order for your career and your image to be aligned. But at the same time, you're being pulled back because it's retrograde. The ruler of Mars is retrograde in your third house. So it's like, maybe be careful how you speak to your mom, be careful how you speak to your loved ones, be careful how, you know, you might be too aggressive, too pushing in your environment at this time. Or if you channel this energy properly, you can channel it towards your career. Or it could also be the case that for some of you, you might decide that you want to start a home business, or if you work from home, this could be a lot of revisiting an old hobby or picking back up on an old business that you had in the past, and you're kind of like picking it back up and now to like realize it. Or you could be rearranging your furniture, remodeling. It can mean that now you have the courage to actually move homes if you were planning to do that. Or it could also mean that you might have to revisit some kind of like issues with your home or with your car. So I would say be careful with your car and issues with machinery when Mercury goes retrograde after the 23rd. And then you're going to have in your ninth house of full moon. So there's going to be a completion of a cycle that dealt with the way that you see the world around you, with your belief systems and how you act upon them. So think about what was happening in your life back in February through March, because this is completing that cycle of whatever wish you made at that time, which could have dealt with like your belief systems, with your courage, could have dealt with your how you view the world around you, or even your parents. Okay. Things about this transit of all these planets being in your third house and then fourth house is that if a lot of you who were students or who were trying or who were applying to like higher education, or who were trying to get into like a higher education or into a university, this is the time when you might hear back and it might be good news, or you might decide that you do want to indeed apply to a certain university. So it's a great time for that. Or your studies, maybe you're having to, or if you're in a higher education, this might be a time when you receive some kind of recognition that you were meant to receive prior and you were overlooked for. Or this could be a time when you're in your education when you're having to relearn something or go back to school to learn something, or have to revisit a chapter on something. But you're learning a lot this month. Your courage is strong, your communication is very concise, and people are paying attention to what you have to say. They're really listening to you. You're an authority figure. You have a lot of courage to take action. You have to be careful driving. You have to be careful with how you voice things in your family, with your security, and with your sense of happiness, because you can feel like you need to take so much action and then you feel stopped for some reason. This can mean that you are revisiting like your hobbies, And if you like to write, this is a good time to write that book or write that article or go back and write those things that you wanted to so badly write prior and you were unable to. This is a great time for that. And it's also a great time for those of you who thought that in the past you were overlooked on something, on anything, that's no longer going to be the case. Like now people are like, I overlooked this person. Like this person is actually so stable and has so much going on for them. Like that was on me kind of thing. Because it's like people are recognizing you everywhere you go and luck is on your side. Your wishes are being fulfilled this month. Old family matters can also come up at this time, especially on the first half of the month. And then in the second half, things will get better. But old family matters are coming up from the past 3 years that you thought you had, overcome. Maybe your sense of security within your home life or even within yourself or even like on your finances. A lot of financial things are coming up first half of the month until the 17th. And then after onward, it's all about your courage and you and really being an authority figure. Now we're off to the next sign, which is Cancer. The thing that I have to say about Geminis is that you have to be extra cautious when it comes to your documentation, how you're writing things, how you're speaking things with your mom. Other than that, this is not a bad month for you, and just enjoy the courage that you have. Watch your speech, how you document things, how you speak things, how you communicate yourself, and everything will be fine. This is not a bad month, but it's just a retrograde, so it's an uncomfortable energy. And I am going to make a separate video for Mercury retrograde in your sign. Your rising and moons. Okay, so this month for you is all about your revisiting your sense of self, your sense of who you are, your confidence, along with money matters. Matters that have to do with family, money, finances, stability within your sense of self, stability within your own financial well-being or what you value in life. So the first half of the month, the sun is in your first house. So what's happening here with the full moon, starting off the month strong with the full moon in your seventh house, you're completing a chapter that deals with your partnerships, with your relationships and your sense of self. So you're really requiring, or your partner is requiring, a lot of energy from you for these next few days. And then while the sun is still in your first house, you're going to notice what's going on here, right here. You're going to notice that after the 6th, Venus will retrograde back into your first house. And at this time, you're going to be revisiting whatever was happening to you at the beginning of the month, like May, April, or June, or May and June, while Venus was in your first house. And really like rearranging something about your appearance or changing something about your appearance, not changing like something new, but like revising something. Like maybe you did something to your hair and you didn't like it, so now you're going to go and revise whatever it was that you did. So revising things that deal with your appearance, making yourself feel more beautiful, more at home with your sense of self, more confident. But a lot of money matters, a lot of issues with finances, a lot of issues with stability, especially after Mercury goes retrograde in your second house. There's a lot of past issues that are going to come up that deal with your financial stability and with your financial well-being. So maybe you're feeling like you really need to make yourself more stable, like you need to stabilize your finances, like you need to stabilize your sense of security. And this can also be due to your resources, maybe your joint resources. This Mercury retrograde along with Mars is going to be opposite retrograde Saturn. So you're just having to introspect a lot on what brings you stability, and then what types of attachments you need to let go of in order to attain that stability that you desire. So don't get into arguments. Be careful with your speech. This is a great time when you can pick up old hobbies, especially after the 18th when Mars goes into your third house. You're going to feel a lot of courage in order to pick up old hobbies or your communication or communicating your needs, especially if these are just like speaking up your truth in terms of your stability, in terms of your finances, in terms of like how you make money, or just like realizing the tweaks that you need to make in your life in order to feel more courageous. This is a good time for you to get things done after the 18th, when Mars goes into your third house, because it's like you're going to have a lot of energy to like overcome everything and anything. Right now, all of your energy is almost like going towards your finances and your family life. And after the 18th, all of your energy will go towards being of service, of picking up an old hobby, of being creative, of speaking your truth through a creative outlet. So when Mars goes into the third house, is a great placement for Mars. It gains a lot of strength. Just be careful you're not overly critical after the 23rd with your family and with your finances and with your resources. Maybe if you're married, maybe you're realizing that you need to separate your resources, or that you need to unite your resources, or there's something along your resources that can make you feel insecure, which you need to like revisit, and then let it go. When Mercury goes retrograde in your second house, there's going to be miscommunication. So just be careful the words that you speak, especially to your family and those people that are closest to you, because you can have some kind of miscommunication. You can have some kind of like say words that are too like aggressive, or too like command too much authority from others, and that can feel a little bit uncomfortable. And then at the end of the month, we end the month with a full moon in your 8th house. And this is going to be a heavy one, because the 8th house is all about resources, all about attachments. It's all about your lifeline, right? It's your longevity, as well as your joint resources and the money that you get from other people. So you're completing at this time a chapter, or closing up a chapter that deals with your resources, letting go of attachments to things that are no longer serving you, like coming to realizations and having the strength to let go of attachments to things that are no longer serving you in terms of your resources, or just like even having revelations in terms of your security, in terms of your family, in terms of the transformations that you need to undergo in order to feel secure within yourself. Sun is going to be in your second house. So it's like this push and pull between your sense of security, your financial stability, and your ego, and then the attachments that you need to let go of in order to reach that. This is not it's like this month, it's really good for you in terms of you having courage, and in terms of you having like the stability that you need to get things done without feeling like, insecure. Like, this is a good month to feel more confident, but at the same time is a month of a lot of realizations, of a lot of financial, thinking about finances, and thinking about security and long-term securities, and having to like and overcoming obstacles in terms of your stability, your sense of stability, and letting go of a lot of attachments, which is never easy. But at the same time, it's not a bad month, because once this month is over, you're going to already have done that. And you're going to have all these planets in your third house, which means that you're going to have so much courage to move forward in life. Now we're off to the next sign, which is Leo. Your rising and moons, this month is very important for you guys. You guys are the start of the month this month. Especially after the second half of the month on the 17th, when the sun enters your first house. And this is really, really special, because this is like, not only is the sun going to be in its own sign of Leo, of the sun, but it's also the time of the year when the sun comes back around to your very first house of self, almost like revitalizing you and giving you that sense of energy and the sense of recharge and drive that you need to hold you off for the entire year. So when the sun travels your 12th house, it's like you're getting exhausted. You're almost making it. You're almost there. You've gone through a whole year of like a whole year already, and the sun in your life, it's losing its vitality. Then it comes into your first house and you're recharged again for all the way until the next year. And then every year repeats like that. So the sun, when it comes into the very first house of self, especially in its own sign of Leo, you guys are about to be the point of conversation in everybody's life. I mean, you already are right now, because Venus, you have Venus retrograde over your first house along with Mercury and Mars. So there's been a lot of aggression, a lot of like intrigue, a lot of like, you're the main topic of conversation. Everybody's talking about you. Everybody's, pulling you in on every side of the spectrum. You're getting pulled into every conversation, to every situation. Old relationships, or coming to revelations around old relationships and what happened and what didn't happen, what needed to be fixed, what didn't need to be fixed. So you're coming to a lot of realizations right now with Venus being retrograde in your first house. You're also feeling more beautiful, and you're kind of like going back to an old style, or you're right now revisiting or revising your style in some way, in minor ways, but in some way. Until the 6th, you just have to be careful with like your spending, and you have to be careful with like enemies, like hidden enemies, like people just like plotting against you, or just like people just like not having your best interest at heart. Other than that, I would say that this Venus retrograde over your first house has really made you feel a lot more, or helped you find yourself a lot more. A lot of the things that you needed to tweak in terms of your personality, you're sort of like going back into that era, and really fine-tuning yourself. Because come October, when Venus returns back to your first house, you're going to be a whole new person, baby. You're just going to be a whole new human being, because after the 6th, Venus retrogrades back into your 12th house. And this month is going to be a little bit of an introspective month at first, for you at least, from the 6th until around the 17th, when Sun enters your first house. It's going to be a little bit of an introspective month, where you're really thinking about and taking inventory on all the things that occupy your mind. Maybe self-development, maybe isolating yourself because you're learning more, or maybe you're working more. Just take a look at wherever the moon is placed in your chart, so you can know what area, why you're isolating, the reason why you're isolating more. That will tell you. What is wrong with this? Have the moon in your chart in the 10th house, and you're going to be isolating more because of work related stuff, because of home. You're going to be at home isolating because of work, etc. If it's in the 2nd house, because of family, 3rd house, because you're writing something, or you're in your neighborhood, or you're working on your confidence and your courage, etc. So look to see where the sun is placed in your chart, or the moon after the 6th, to know what's happening with this retrograde. Now, once sun enters your first house, a few days after, on the 23rd, there's a Mercury retrograde there in your first house. And what happens when Mercury goes retrograde over your first house is that, one second. Mentioning, once Mercury goes retrograde in your first house, you're gonna be asked to revisit certain things in terms of your sense of self. You might need to watch out how you are perceived by others, how you communicate your ideas to others, how you communicate. Look to see where Mercury is placed in your chart to know where this is taking place the most. Like if it's in your 10th house, how you communicate in your career, and also the sun. If the sun is in the 5th house, how you communicate with your loved ones. So be careful with your communication. Mercury retrograde is always going to bring some kind of issue with or a miscommunication, or some kind of issue that you have to revisit from the past, that deals with contracts, communication, anything related, even like technology, things like that. But so that's bound to happen. It's going to happen to all of us, and to some extent. However, for you, it's mostly going to impact your finances and your friendships. This is because Mercury rules over your second house of family, finances, and 11th house of friendships. So there can be something with friendships, gains that you, or gains in finances that you need to revisit during the retrograde, which might not be so pleasant. So I would say be careful with your expenses during the retrograde, because you're going to feel this want or this need to spend on yourself, because the sun is going to be over your first house and you're being revitalized. You're going to want to like revisit your looks. You're going to want to spend on your appearance. But then Mercury retrograde is going to be like, hello, what about your finances? How are you taking care of that? How are you taking care of your stability? You got to revisit what you're spending on. And then Saturn in the 7th house is bringing obstacles and delays and a lot of hurdles as it pertains to how you interact with the outside world, especially your partners. If you're married, within your partnership, or even in your work line, or even within your contracts, the business in general, the outside world. So there's some kind of conflict there that's really making you feel like it's getting in the way of you being able to be yourself, or you being able to be your full, true, authentic sun self. There could be some ego issues that happen with your spouse at this time, or some ego clashes. I would say watch out for that. Make sure you're not like clashing with your egos. Make sure you're not being a little bit too pushy, because Leos can be a little bit too wanting to be seen, but then your spouse is over here like putting obstacles, or the outside world is like putting obstacles on you. So that's the biggest issue that you're going to have this month, is overcoming the obstacles that are being thrown at you that are really impacting your sense of self. So maybe you want to have like a really strong health routine, especially right now, especially beginning of the month. And then after the second half of the month, once sun goes into your first house, really revitalize yourself, but check your ego every step of the way. And ego can be anything as small as you not being able to detach from your identity and let go of things, or something as big as clashing because somebody didn't respect you the way that you wanted them to respect you. So those are all ego clashes. So Leos have a big ego, but they're also very creative. So this is a time when you're really going to be seen, and when your creative side is going to be at an all-time high. So this is a beautiful month for you, all the way into beginning of September. So that's really good. But while Mercury is retrograde, just watch your speech, watch how you communicate with others, revisit whatever you need to revisit. Don't start anything new, just rehash whatever's been in the past. There could be some type of like old relationships that resurface, or just like misunderstandings to some extent, especially misunderstandings with family, with friends, with lovers, with your coworkers. So just have some patience, because you're the main event. There's a lot of energy happening. And then at the end of the month, you have a full moon in your 7th house. So think about what was happening March, April, May in your life, because that's coming to a closure. So if you manifested with the new moon in your 7th house a relationship, then this could be a time when you're feeling more settled within that relationship, or when you get into a relationship, or when you're finally over a relationship, or just like something with the outside world and relationships is coming to a closure that started for you back in during the new moon, which happened February, March, April, around there. End of March, I want to say it was the new moon in your 7th house, and that was that's coming to a closure now. So this is a good month for the Leos. This is a great month to change your appearance, or maybe not change it because Venus was retrograde in your 12th house, but maybe just like revisit your appearance and tweak little things, you know. There's a good time also to tweak things as it pertains to business. If you own your own business, or you're an entrepreneur, there's a great time for that. Be careful with your expenses all month long, really, and with like hidden enemies, but especially at the beginning of the month after the 6th. Oh, and also, yeah, with like high expenses after the 6th. The stability that you have this month, this could be also a good, even though your expenses are really high right now, this could, after sun enters your first house after the 17th, this could be a really good month for you in terms of material desires, like attaining all those material desires that you wanted. Just be careful that you're not like overdoing it, that you're being responsible about it, because you can gain a lot this month. You're very visible to the outside world. Everybody, all eyes are on you. You're the center of attention right now. So you can gain a lot of material desires this month. And you can also be traveling abroad. For some of you, you can decide that you want to go travel. You have travel plans, especially if you're traveling somewhere that you've traveled to in the past, that's going to bring you gains. Or even like people who are foreign to you, like foreign, or if you do business with foreigners, this is a great time for you as well. Now, Venus rules over your 10th house. So you got to be careful with the things that you say in your job, in your work environment. You have to be very careful with that. You have to be very careful. Mars enters your 2nd house with your speech, how you say things after the 18th, because you might be a little bit too critical with your words or too ready to like take action and be a little bit aggressive as it pertains to the words that you use, or with your finances. Make sure you're making good financial decisions, especially after the 18th. And Leo ascendant this month, that it's all about you pretty much. It's very important for you to not have so many ego issues in relation to your coworkers, to your job, because there could be a time after mid-month when Sun enters your 1st house where past issues at work can come up and you can get recognized for past jobs that you've done. So maybe you get recognized for something that happened that you did in the past, and you get some kind of recognition, and you're finally seen like for what you, and you're finally given the recognition that you deserve at work due to something that you did in the past. But at the same time, you can also be attracting a lot of like discord in between your coworkers and you, or a lot of discord, or people talking behind your back, or just like issues with coworkers. Try to keep like a good relationship with everyone, because this is an energy that's happening right now that's teaching you a lesson about your own self-perseverance and your own self-worth. And once this transit is over, things will go back to normal. But right now, you can have ego clashes with your coworkers. You can get recognized at work. You need to watch your communication with your family, and you need to watch your communication with your siblings, because past issues around money, around siblings, around finances with family are going to come up, even with friendships as well, and some kind of love dilemma or struggles with relationships that can be overcome and strengthened if your ego does not get in the way. So I would recommend doing a lot of self-reflection this month and doing a lot of inner work, especially the first half of them, especially after the 6th, once Venus goes into your 12th house. So a lot of like inner work, do a lot of like self-development, and you're going to see that this month is going to be very interesting and very transformational. Your work life is going to, if you do this the right way, if you don't have an ego, it's going to really boom for you. This is not a bad month. It's a very interesting month, like a lot going on, a lot of like people, trying to pull you towards different directions, and you not knowing where to go, or you not feeling like it's aligned with you, so you kind of want to isolate. But it's not a bad month if you revisit, revise, redo things from the past. You can get a lot of recognition, you can change your appearance, you can revitalize yourself. So you're going to be seen by the public, you're going to be seen by others. Be careful with ego clashes in your relationships, and everything will be fine. Off to the next sign, which is Virgo. Rising and moon. So first half of the month, you have a lot going on in your 12th house. So you're doing a lot of introspection. You're starting off the month with a full moon in your 5th house of relationships. You're ending a cycle in relationships and in friendships. So you're doing a lot of introspection as to what it is that you need out of your friendships, as to what you need out of your relationships. Maybe you're traveling abroad this month. Maybe you're going, taking a sudden trip. Or maybe you're going to just like introspect a lot and do a lot of self-reflection this month. This is a month of a lot of realizations in your relationships, what you need out of your relationships, and also what you need out of your friendships. After mid-month, once Venus, after the 6th, Venus will go into your 11th house. So you're going to be spending a lot of time with friends, and you're going to be changing your beliefs around friendships, or just like changing the way that or gaining some kind of past manifestation that you had through a friend. because of your friendships, or you might gain something from your friendships after Venus goes retrograde in your 11th house. So you're spending a lot of time first half of the month with friends, gaining a lot through friends, learning a lot about yourself through friends. And then after the 17th, you're going to have Sun in your 12th house, which is going to make you feel a little bit more introverted or more want to focus on yourself, want to isolate because you are, depends where you have the Sun in your chart. So look to see where you have the Sun in your chart to know why you're isolating, but you're going to be isolating more, or just traveling abroad or going into some kind of or getting back into your routine. So this is a time when your work environment is going to really be impacting your sense of self or your isolation. So you're going to be isolating, getting back into your routine, and working on your inner belief systems, inner self. Then after the 18th, Mars enters your first house, and this is going to give you so much vitality, so much energy. So after the 18th, when Mars enters your first house, you're going to feel like this sudden burst of energy that you're going to have, that you're going to be able to get things accomplished. You're going to, work on yourself, just watch that you're not overly critical and you're not overly picky, especially when it comes to your job. You might be a little bit impatient with your work environment, because after the 23rd, Mercury goes retrograde in your 12th house, which is going to force you to revisit things about yourself and your career that you thought were that you had put aside. This can also mean even gaining some kind of manifestation that deals with your career life, or gaining some kind of self-awareness, relevation to some extent, about your intuitive abilities, about your inner self. And then you're able to, after next month, when all the planets go over your first house, you're going to be the main event. But for now, this month is all about maybe traveling, maybe introspecting, maybe spending time with friends, gaining through friends, working on your career, revisiting something about your sense of self, and don't be so impatient with others. Have some kind of be patient with others, pretty much. And then the full moon is happening over your 6th house. So there's going to be a completion of a cycle at the end of the month as it pertains to your daily environment, your day-to-day life, your routine, your health, wellness, your work environment. So maybe 6 months ago, you started a new job, or you started a new workout routine, you started a new health routine, and now you're finally feeling at ease with that. You're finally feeling like you're seeing your progress. Or it could be the case that at this time you're finally feeling like, or you're closing a chapter in your work and career. Off to the next sign, which is Libra. Libra rising and Libra moons. Okay, so we're beginning this month with a full moon in your 4th house of home. So there's a completion of a cycle that began for you 6 months ago around February, that's now completing and closing off as it pertains to your career life and your home life. So in between your career and home life. So you're coming to some conclusions, some revelations, some realizations about your home life, your career life, and what you need to do in order to balance the two. Maybe you moved and now you're feeling a lot more at home, a lot more at peace in this new environment. Or you're feeling like you need to, your comfort level or your home life is not up to the standards that you wanted it to be, and now you're making changes, but there could be some kind of conclusion as it pertains to your home life. Now, first half of the month, up until the 6th of August, you're going to have the Venus retrograde in your 11th house. This Venus retrogrades really impact you on Taurus risings and moons because it's your ascendant ruler. Venus rules over your house of self, who you are. So if Venus is ruling over your house of self, what this means is that you're getting really impacted. Your self-esteem, your self-awareness, your beauty. This is a good time for you to revisit your appearance, do something to your appearance that you really wanted to do from the past. 11th house is the house of wishes, manifestations. That's where the first half of the retrograde is happening up until the 6th. So this is a wish fulfillment that you have about your life that can come true now from the past in terms of your love life, in terms of your friendships, in terms of your own beauty. So you're manifesting something and it's coming true with this Venus retrograde. Then after the 6th, the retrograde goes into your 10th house of career, where your focus is going to be on revisiting something from the past as it pertains to your career life, as it pertains to your home environment, like what you want out of your career, what you want out of your home. Then Sun goes into your 11th house on the 17th. And at this time, again, all eyes are on you in terms of your love life, in terms of your friendships, your manifestations, your wish fulfillment. Sun is gaining strength and is making you more, giving you the ability to fulfill your wishes at this time. Some kind of friend is going to come in from the past, or some kind of friendship or some kind of manifestation around institutions, friendships. Check where Sun is in your chart. If it's in the 1st house, it could be a manifestation about your appearance. If it's in your 8th house, about resources, money. Check where it is in your chart, where it's placed. But you're after Sun goes into your 11th house, you're really going to be more visible. You're going to want to go out more, or you're going to want to spend some time with friends. There could be some kind of obstacle in your love life and your romantic life that you have to overcome. But once you overcome this obstacle, you get a wish fulfillment that you have been waiting on from the past. So this could, it depends for you what it means, but this is a good month for your wishes, your manifestations, your visibility, even like your friendships, your connections. You might meet some very powerful people that are going to help you in some way achieve your goals in your career. So Venus retrograding your 10th house of career. Then you're going to have Mercury and Mars in your 11th, and then Sun joins in. Then after the 23rd, Mercury goes retrograde in your 11th house, which is even more indicative that this is a month where things from the past are coming up in terms of your love life, you're having fun, in terms of your friendships, meeting powerful people, or if you work with the media, social media, technology, this is a really good month when you can get some kind of recognition from the past that was owed to you that now comes in. So after the 18th, Mars enters your 12th house. And this is going to be a little bit difficult because it's almost as if first half of the month, things are going well. Then Mercury goes retrograde. You're revisiting something from the past. And then Mars enters your 12th house and you're having to, your energy is a little bit drained. When Mars is in the 12th house, you can tend to feel very tired, exhausted. Your energy becomes a little bit drained and you feel like, or you can even attract people who direct a lot of aggression towards you, or who direct a lot of like negativity towards you in some way, or even like hidden enemies, but you won't even find out about them. It's just like on an energetic level because they're hidden, but on an energetic level, this can disrupt your sleep a little bit after the 18th once Mars enters your 12th house. And the ruler is Mercury in the 11th. So I do think that you're going to be staying up, like you're going to have some kind of trouble sleeping a little bit this month after the 18th. But regardless, this is a month of manifestations. What was going on in your life from from January all the way until March, because there's a repeat of that. That's what's coming up for you right now. You're fulfilling the wishes that you made at that time, especially after at the end of the month on the 31st, you have a full moon in your 5th house, which means that you're going to complete that cycle. So that around that time, you can see after you've overcome whatever obstacle that you're having to overcome in your career and in your love life or in your home life, you're going to see a wish fulfillment come true for you. And this is really good because you've been struggling for a while now with Ketu on your ascendant. So this is it's not a bad month for the Libra rising and the Libra moons. I will tell you that. A lot of manifestations coming true. After overcoming something in terms of your creative abilities or in terms of your business, if you have your own business, you're having to overcome something, and then a wish fulfillment comes in. And this is now, but especially after the 6th and especially after the 23rd, once Mercury goes retrograde, watch out with your speech, watch out when you communicate with your friends. how you communicate with them, or what you share through the media or technology. Watch those things. Now we're off to the next sign, which is Scorpio. Your rising and moons, you're starting this month strong with the full moon in your third house of willpower, communication, strength, courage. So this full moon is closing off a chapter that dealt with what you believe, your belief systems around your courage, or even siblings, so, or even your business or your neighborhood. So you're changing your beliefs around that, or to some extent, or there's a closure to that chapter that began around I want to say January. So there's a chapter, February, really. There's a chapter that you're ending in terms of your courage, maybe closure or relevation of some sort that's happening right now for you in your house of communication and courage, and siblings, or maybe you're coming to a conclusion or a revelation, or you're changing your point of view on something that has to do with your courage. So you're taking the initiative, you're taking the courage, and you're closing off that chapter. Now, Venus is retrograde in your 10th house, which in the sign of Leo, and that's only going to be until the 6th. And after the 6th, Venus goes into your 9th house. But until then, you've been working on revisiting things from the past as it pertains to your work environment, as it pertains to your legacy, how you're perceived by others, your career, your image. And you're really working hard on expressing in your career and action in your career, but you feel like you can almost feel like you're at a tug of war between your work life and your home life and your happiness. Like one or the other are pulling at you and you don't know what to do. And so there could be some struggles at home for some of you. There could be some unhappiness that is happening at home, but this is happening so that you can come to the realizations of the steps that you need to do to change your career life or to change your home environment. If this means moving, or if this means changing career paths, or if this means renovations or something like that from the past that were meant to be in the past, and you're taking charge of it now. And also think about what was happening in your life from, I would say, March until, so the last 6 months of February, March, April, May, June, because that's what's unfolding, especially in March, January, March. Whatever was happening then in your home life, you're repeating that right now, or you're closing those chapters right now. You're focusing on your career and things from, maybe you had some kind of recognition that was not given to you in the past and can come to you at this time. Check where Sun is placed in your chart. Like if it's in the 12th house, and right now this Venus retrograde is really making you feel very introverted, is making you feel very isolated, and you're wanting to work on your mental health and how that impacts your career and your image. If it's in the 11th house, your friendships, and how that impacts your career and your image. So it all depends on where Sun is placed, but that's until the 6th. After the 6th, Venus retrograde goes into your 9th house, and your belief systems are going to become impacted. So look to see where Moon is in your chart, because it's your belief systems around that area. So your belief systems and how you view the world around you. This could mean maybe traveling back somewhere that you've been in the past, or traveling to your motherland, or visiting family, visiting your mother, or this could even mean some kind of change of plans, or change of point of view about someone or something, or a situation, or a belief system of some sort. Now, Mercury is also going to go retrograde. You have Mars with Mercury in the 10th house. So Mercury is going to go retrograde there in your 10th house, which is going to bring you some kind of, if the recognition doesn't come now while Venus is there in the 10th house, it will come after Mercury goes retrograde in your 10th house. But before that, the Sun enters your 10th house, and you need to be careful with ego clashes in your career, at work, with your peers, or at home. The struggles at home are really, maybe you can be projecting your career stress in your home life, or you're taking your home stress to your career, but there's like this push and pull, this uncertainty, or this like juggling that you're having to do between your career, your image, and your home life and your happiness ultimately. So there's like struggles in between that, but ultimately this is showing you what needs to change. So be careful the words that you speak, what you write, what contracts you sign. Try not to sign any contracts unless there was something that you needed to sign from the past. Try not to start anything new in your career unless it was something from the past. This is a time of like thinking about and really revising. Mercury rules your 11th and 8th house. So it's like your resources. You're really thinking about your resources. So after Mercury goes retrograde in after the 23rd in your 10th house, Mercury goes retrograde, you're going to revise your resources, your friendships, your connections. Things that deal with technology might be impacted, might be affected. But overall, this is not a bad month for you. It's just that very pivotal houses are being impacted. 10th, 4th, your beliefs, ninth house. So the ruler of your ascendant is in the 10th house. So all of your energy is going towards your work, your career. You have no time to feel your happiness, to feel your home, to feel relaxed because you're working so much or you're having to rehash something from the past as it pertains to your work. Of August is going to be really good because your ascendant lord, the ruler of your first house, which is Mars, what dictates everything. So you need to always watch where Mars is placed in transit. But the planet that rules you is essentially Mars. It's going into your 11th house of wish fulfillment, manifestations. This is really good for Mars, and Mars being in the 11th house is really good because you're going to have a wish fulfillment that comes true during this second after the 18th. But the ruler of Mars is going to be Mercury, and it's going to be retrograde. So it's something around your career life or your image or your home life that you've had from the past. This could be the wish fulfillment that occurs for you this month. Some kind of wish fulfillment of your image as well. Like you want to change your image. This is a good month also to change your appearance or not to change it. I'm sorry. What I meant is to like tweak it. If there was something that was not, good before, this is a good time before the 6th, I would say, or even after the 11th, after the 18th to tweak it and change it and adjust it in some way. This is a good month for that. Even though there's going to be a lot of planets retrograde, it's not a bad month as long as you're doing something that you were planning to do from the past or something that deals with fixing. It's not bad for that. Then after it's actually a really good indication that you might accomplish something that's going to bring you a lot of gains or meet someone that's going to be a very powerful influence in your life and bring you gains as a result. 8th house. That's because Mercury is going to be retrograde in your 10th, and then the ruler of Mars, your ascendant lord in the 10th, Mercury, which is Mercury, and is going to be retrograde. So past issues may also come up in terms of your career, in terms of your resources, your friendships, your sense of self, your identity, and what you need, what you want, what you desire. Then Sun enters on the 17th, your 10th house. You're going to be very visible, like all eyes on you in your career. You're really going to be put on a pedestal in that sense, in your career, in your image, in your public life. But your home life is bringing you on the sense of unhappiness. Your career life is booming. Home life is bringing you unhappiness that you have to overcome. And once you overcome this unhappiness, you will notice that things get better for you. And then we close off the month with a full moon in your 4th house. So whatever wish you made 6 months ago, this is you're closing that chapter. So think about 6 months ago, like I said, January, February, March, what was going on around those dates? Because there's a closure to that chapter in your home life. The wish that you made around that time is coming true, or you're closing that chapter. Maybe you moved and you're finally feeling more like comfortable in your new environment, or maybe you did some renovations and you're feeling better about these renovations, or maybe you're just feeling more at home, or you're realizing that you need to change something about your home life in some way or another. And that's what the full moon is going to be looking opposite to Mercury retrograde, making an aspect to Venus retrograde. Mars is going to be in your 11th house. So some kind of wish fulfillment can also happen in terms of your happiness and in terms of your career life. Off to the next sign, which is Sagittarius. First, important thing to mention is that for a while now, this Saturn in the 4th house is bringing you a sense of dissatisfaction in your career life that may be heightened after with this Venus retrograde, especially after Mercury goes also retrograde on the 23rd. If you were looking for a job, once Sun enters your 10th house, this is a time when you might find this new escape or this new work environment that you have been searching for some time now. From the dissatisfaction that you've been feeling. So this could be a time when after the 17th, when Sun enters your 10th house, when you finally feel like your job, or that you can find where you will hear back and get this new position that you've been waiting for, that you've been waiting out for. Or this might be the month where you decide, I've had enough, I no longer want to stay here, this is not bringing me happiness, and then you're done. Your spouse can also be requiring more attention from you, or your home life in general is asking more attention from you that you might not be willing to give. However, after, like I said earlier, Mars goes into your 11th house, a wish fulfillment can come into your life. Finances are going to still be a little bit up and down, and you might decide that, you know what, my resources, I need to work on my resources, I need to work on my finances, let me take out some kind of loan. This might not be the best idea. You have Rahu in the 6th house. You're feeling inclined to do that along with Jupiter. Don't do it. Just wait it out. Things are going to get better. If you can wait it out, wait it out. All right, now off to the next sign, which is Sagittarius. Sagittarius rising and moon. So you're starting off this full moon with a completion of a cycle in your 2nd house of home, stability, finances, family. You could have started something 6 months ago around February in terms of your sense of security, your sense of finances, your sense of family. And now you're closing off that chapter. This can also deal with your resources. Maybe you're coming to a conclusion in what do you need to do in order to feel more financially stable, more financially secure? Maybe some of you can decide to invest in stocks at this time, or there's something around investments and your sense of security during the full moon that you're closing a chapter on. Now, the Venus retrograde is happening in your 9th house. Along with Mercury and Mars are also sitting there opposite your 3rd house where you have Saturn. So you need to watch your communication with your parents, with your family. There's a lot of energy happening with your elders or with your teachers. If you're in higher education, they can be asking more of you right now, or you're having to revisit something from the past. Which can make you feel uncomfortable at times. This might be a situation from the past that made you feel a sense of loss, or that made you feel a sense of where you can feel like there's a power imbalance. Just be careful with how you communicate to the authority figures, or how you communicate with your parents. You can feel like things are unfair for you right now, but at the same time, luck is on your side. Ultimately, Venus retrograde just brings back old beliefs. Now you're changing your belief around a situation, around a conversation, around a person. This could be your parents, this could be your siblings. There's some like struggle with communication with your sibling, or some kind of lesson that you're learning around your communication with your siblings, or just communication in general, or just like your willpower is being impacted to some extent, where you're having difficulty where you're having some kind of difficulty in general as it pertains to your communicating your beliefs to others. Like you want to say things, but then you're like, oh, I should just hold back, because then it's going to come out with an ego. Now, after the 6th, Venus goes into your 8th house, and this could be a time when you receive some kind of settlement. If you were waiting for a settlement, or somebody might give you some type of money that you didn't earn, might come to you at this time, or you just might come to some kind of revelation in terms of your sense of your some kind of revelation in terms of secrets or unearned money. If you're waiting for some kind of settlement, like I said, this could be a time when Venus retrograde makes you have to revisit that. Or it could just be the case that you're kind of like rehashing old traumas are coming to the surface at this time with Venus there in the 8th house, or you can just want to really feel a sense of be careful with like risky behaviors and driving, because Venus in the 8th house can make you prone to want to do things that are risky or want to take on action towards things that might not ultimately have your best interest at heart and might cause some kind of transformation in you. I'm not saying this is a bad month. I'm just saying watch your health, especially the foods that you intake. Watch your spending and watch your investments as well as your driving. Then you have Mercury is going to go retrograde in your 9th house. For those of you that are in higher education, this could be a time when you are deciding that that you're wanting to change, or you might even, once Mercury goes retrograde and Venus leaves this area, you might, again, mistakes might have to be rehashed, or things that you thought you were done with might come back around in order for you to kind of like redo them. Or it could also be the case that you are your relationship gets impacted at this time, because your 7th house is ruled by Mercury and so is your 10th house. So your career and your relationships, you're having to redo something in terms of that after the 23rd, when Mercury goes retrograde in your 9th house. So whatever you believed about your career path, your relationships, there's something coming back up that you're having to, forcing you to have to revisit and revise and redo. So maybe this could mean that some of you might want to be moving or might want to be changing career paths, and then something happens where you're having to re-sign something from the past or redo something from the past. Then Mars also there in your 9th house is going to go into your 10th house after the 18th. And once it goes into your 10th house, you're going to have a lot of energy in your career. It's going to be a better placement for Mars, because it's going to give you a lot of energy to get things done that you were wanting to get done and you were unable to up until now. But at the same time, it's almost as if because the ruler of your Mars is going to be retrograde. It's like things from the past that you were unable to finish before, they're now coming back so that you can finish them. So unfinished business, watch out with the errors when you speak, especially to your family, to your loved ones, to your teachers, to your in your relationship. Watch how you speak to them and your everyday life. Watch your health as well, because the ruler of your 6th house of health is retrograde. It's very important for you to really tweak the things that you need to tweak in terms of your health. Maybe some of you could be having very difficult sleep patterns, and now you're having to tweak that to some extent. You're having to adjust it. And it's a time when you will be able to fix it. It's just that you have to recognize it first. Like maybe some of you are not sleeping well or eating well, and something with your health comes up because of that. So it's very important that you acknowledge it and then change it. Once Venus goes into your 8th house, you're going to have no other choice than to figure out what it is that's going on and then change it. Then the full moon, lastly, Sun enters your 9th house after the 17th. And this will mean that a lot of your attention, a lot of your energy is going towards your house of luck. So luck is on your side, but the thing is that it's like you're getting recognition from things that you did in the past, so you might not recognize it, but ultimately you're overcoming anything that's being put in your way. You're overcoming your energy, your enemies, your courage. Even though your courage is a little bit down, you're still overcoming your enemies, and luck is on your side. For the second half of the month, a lot of your luck, like I mentioned, a lot of expansion and a lot of gains are coming your way. So I would say you can even receive some kind of, like I mentioned earlier, inheritance or some kind of money that just somebody gives you suddenly. So luck is on your side this month. This is not a bad month. There's good luck for you. You just need to really watch your eating habits, your sleep schedule, and your health. But other than that, it's like this is a very dharmic time for you, where you're really acknowledging and realizing what your purpose is and really going towards it. This is a really good time for you to achieve your higher dreams. If you were applying for higher education, this is a great time to continue that or to finalize that, or you might be hearing from them. This is a great time that you might just learn something new or go back to school to learn something new, or pick up on an old something that you have been wanting to learn about from the past, and you're picking that back up. So it's a really good month for that. Now we're off to the next sign, which is Capricorn. Okay, so for Capricorn rising and moon, so you're starting off this month strong with a full moon in your first house, looking at your seventh house where you have the sun currently placed. So the full moon is closing a chapter that began for you back in February as it pertained to your sense of self and your stability. This could be stability with your finances, with your stability with your resources, health. You've been working on all of these things the past 6 months, and now you're closing that chapter. You're feeling there's like a revelation or a completion to a chapter in relationships of letting go, or just like a revelation as it pertains to how you view yourself and all the transformation that you have undergone. You have to be very careful of the foods that you intake this month and make sure you're eating very healthy, because you have a lot of planets transiting over your 8th house of transformation. This could cause some kind of health issues to arise, or just if you're maintaining your health very well, then don't worry about it too much. Just be careful, like driving, with your investments, with your money, with your family, the way that you speak to your family. After the 6th Venus retrograde will go into your 7th house, which means that there's a lot of energy that's going in between your 7th and 8th house. 8th house is the house of transformation. It's also unearned money. So people can be you can be finding money or receiving, or just like just money. It's like you can be like people sending you money, or just like getting some type of money that you were not expecting this month. So that's a good thing. So when, especially that was owed to you from the past. But once Venus goes into your 7th house, this is a time when things from the past, like relationships, or even like contracts, or even business wise, can really be impacted. Like you're thinking a lot about what you need out of your relationships. You're thinking a lot about your relationships. You could be thinking a lot about past relationships, or your relationships can require a lot more from you at this time. And maybe you're unable to give your relationships the energy that they're requiring from you at this time. However, this could after the 17th, Sun enters your 8th house, and this is a time when a lot of secrets or things that were not privy to you, and I don't mean like in a literal sense, this could mean like in your subconscious as well, might come to the surface. Or this could be a time when you might decide that you want some sort of transformation to yourself, that you want to transform your finances, your stability, your sense of self, your security. Check what house Sun is placed in your chart to know what area of life that's going to be transforming. Like, for example, it could be transforming your relationships if your Sun is in the 5th house. Regardless, your relationships are impacted. Your love life is impacted, because when Venus after the 6th goes back into your 7th house, it's also ruling your 5th house of relationships, love, romance. So a lover from the past, or hashing situations from the past, or coming to terms, letting go. Then Mercury, Sun enters on the 17th, your 8th house. So this could be a lot of revelations in terms of your stability and what you need to transform in order to feel more like yourself. Then Mercury goes retrograde in your 8th house on the 23rd. So I would be very careful with your finances at this time, and driving, and just like things in general, because this could be a time when things from the past come back up and that pertain to like your stability and your finances. So these are things that are coming back up from the past, and you can feel as if you need to transform yourself in some way to feel accepted or to feel good about yourself. And so it can lead you to want to change your appearance, or it can lead you to want to change something about your the way that you view the world or your health in general, or can make you realize that you need to put more hours into your work environment or put more hours into your health as well. Resources, stability, and relationships are the biggest themes for you at this time. If you have your own business or if you have a business partner, this is a time when a lot of things are coming up in terms of resources. Like maybe you're coming to terms with what you need to do in order to feel happier, and what you need to let go of, what attachments you need to let go of to feel happier in your relationships with your business partner, or in your relationships with your spouse, or in your joint resources, or with your family. Maybe someone might be someone in your family might be requiring more of you at this time, and might be asking you for resources in some way, or they may be giving you resources in some way at this time. So it's like your joint money or joint resources, or money that you didn't earn, is coming to you. But at the same time, if you're not careful, you can have a sudden gains and sudden losses as well, or sudden expenses as well that create loss. Or it could just be the case that you're deciding to invest in a new financial or in a new endeavor that deals with security in some way. Could be a time when you're receiving some kind of good news in your career, or in your love life, or if you're working in a creative field, this could be a time when you receive some kind of new, especially once Venus goes back into your 7th house after the 6th, where you receive some kind of good news at work, in your career, or you are recognized for something that you did in the past, or a past lover comes back and they're helping you in some way, or you get some kind of clarity, or women help you in some way in the beginning of the month, and then after, in the second half, you might receive some kind of good luck from a male figure, or just like, inheritances. This could be a theme for you this month, like an inheritance, unearned money, finding money. Just be careful with like your belongings and the things that mean a lot to you, like make sure you don't, like if you're traveling or something like that, make sure that you're keeping your belongings really close to you, because this could be a time of transformation. Where you can get like robbed or something like that. I'm not saying that it's going to happen, but it could happen. Like I said, sudden gains, but also sudden losses could happen at this time as well. And then once Mars goes into your 9th house, you're going to have a lot of energy. Maybe you're going to be traveling a lot, or maybe you're going to decide that you want to change your belief around the way that you view your relationships, or your finances, or your work life. Because remember, Mars is going to be in your 9th house of good luck and good karmas, but at the same time, the ruler is Mercury. Is going to be retrograde in your 8th house and in your 6th house. So work, transformation, new belief systems around work and transformation, maybe sudden money coming to you, maybe a new belief around how you want to view partnerships, whether that's business or relationship wise. You're changing your views around that, especially after Mars enters Virgo after the 18th. Then on the 31st, we end the month with a full moon in your 2nd house. So at this time, you're completing a chapter again in your resources. This month is all about money, resources, stability, financial stability for you, as well as transforming the way that you view your sense of stability, your finances, your money, your investments, and your relationships, as well as redoing something in terms of your everyday life routine, work, health, and your beliefs in general. Now we're off to the next sign, which is Aquarius. You start off this month strong with a full moon completing a cycle in your 12th house. So this full moon is really making you feel isolated and introverted in terms of your health, and sleep can be disturbed at this time, but you're closing a chapter as it pertains to your work, day-to-day life, as well as your belief systems and your internal subconscious self. So you're coming to some kind of revelations as to what you need to do in your everyday life in order to sustain yourself and in order to be more productive. So you're getting some kind of revelation around that, or around your health. Some secrets can come to the surface that you were unable to see before, in terms of, like I said, your work, your health, etc. So this is a good time these next few days. Those revelations are coming to the surface. And then all month long, you'll have Venus, Mercury. So Venus leaves your 7th house after the 6th, but you'll have Mercury in your 7th house and then Mars in your 7th house. And towards the end of the month, Mars leaves into your 8th and Sun goes into your 7th. So first half of the month, once Venus leaves your 7th house, where it's been up almost all month, all of July, it's been in your 7th house, where you have been focusing a lot on what you need out of your relationships, restructuring and restructuring your entire life and what you need out of your relationships, out of your love life. And then Venus is leaving this area. So Venus is going back into your 6th house, where it's going to ask you to restructure your work environment, restructure your routine, so that once October comes back around, and Venus goes back into your 7th, you can feel more energized and you can feel more prepared for the outside world, or for the things that others have to throw at you. Because right now it's like everybody's like coming at you. It almost feels like with the 6th house Sun and then Venus, Mercury, Mars in your 7th house, like your relationships can be problematic a little bit at this time. Or if they're not problematic, then you're feeling like you're not getting enough attention, or you're feeling like you need to end certain toxic patterns. There's some kind of like energy from the past that's been coming up for you in your relationships. And now that's ending because Venus is going into your 6th house. And then you're going to focus more on your health and focus more on yourself, be more self-centered, more introspective. And then on the 17th, Sun enters your 7th house. And this is a time when, your spouse can have a little bit of an ego issue. But overall, it's like you're shining through your spouse. Your spouse is doing really well in life and they're receiving a lot of attention. And through this, you're receiving energy as well. But there could be some kind of like feeling left out, or feeling like you're having to do a lot of the heavy work, the heavy load, and you're taking on a lot of responsibility for your spouse. But this is also a good, or even in your work, if you have business partnerships, it can almost feel as if you're the one that's doing all the work. But this can be a time when if you work like for the media, or if you work with the public, this is a really good time to be recognized, because others are viewing you in a very good light this all month long, especially after Sun enters your 7th house. Others are viewing you as somebody who's very responsible, even though you feel at odds in between your how others view you and your sense of self. So this might not be resonating with you, but at the same time, you're going to notice that people around you do view you like this. And you're also going to notice that Venus it's impacting your 4th house of homes and your 9th house of beliefs. So you're changing your beliefs of what you believe around your happiness, what you need in order to feel happier and to feel more fulfilled. You're changing that, or maybe even moving homes. If you were planning or renovating, if this was something that was meant to happen for a long time, this could be the month when you finally take that action. And then Mercury is going to go retrograde on the 23rd, and that's going to be in your 7th house of relationships. And so this could be a time when old lovers come back into your life, like I said, or you get some kind of communication or clarity or closure in your partnerships, whether that's with the outside world, with your business, whatever it might be. Then Mars goes into your 8th house of resources or shared resources, and also the house of transformation. And Mars there, it's going to make you a little bit like of a risk taker. You can feel like taking risks. So I would say be careful driving. And at the same time, the ruler, it's ruling your 5th house and your 8th house. Mercury rules your 5th and 8th, and it's going to be retrograde in your 7th house. So either your spouse is going to require you to go back and revisit some kind of issue from the past that dealt with your children or with your love life, or that dealt with an old lover, or some kind of inheritance or money or money matters that need to be looked at this time, that are coming back up after Mercury goes retrograde in your 7th house. Because Mars is going to be activating it, and it's in the 8th house. So I would say be careful driving, and be careful with the words that you use in your relationships. You might be a little bit harsh, or your spouse can be a little bit harsh towards you. Or this could be a time when you meet someone, when you have a lot of energy towards meeting somebody from your past and really gaining clarity into what happened in the relationship and finally putting it to rest, or just like revisiting it in some way, or getting back with an old lover, or just letting things go, letting things be. Another this month is to work on your like bone health, work on your, maybe if you bone health, your dental health. Maybe something comes up and you might have to take care of that. Just take care of it right away. You're gonna have the tools to be able to do it. Or maybe something with your stomach, or even like heart. I'm not saying that anything with your heart is going to go wrong, but maybe your stomach issues, like watch where you're eating, your eating habits, because you can have indigestion or something with your stomach that may occur. So if you have your own business, this could be a time when there's a lot of competition this month, especially past competition or past issues that from past competitors that are coming back up, or maybe having to redo some paperwork, or opposition. More than competition, I would say opposition, especially after Sun enters your 7th house. It's like powerful people are trying to oppose what you're trying to do, especially if you're in your own business, if you own your own business. But don't worry, because after the 18th, around the 18th, things will get better. But it's like all month long, like this energy where you feel like you're constantly having to overcome people coming at you and people trying to jeopardize your business or jeopardize your relationships in general. And then you end the month with a full moon in your 1st house on the 31st, and it's going to be really good because this full moon is bringing a closure to a situation that you started, or like a journey that you began 6 months ago, like around February, that dealt with your sense of self, it dealt with your relationships, it dealt with your the outside world. It could have also even dealt with like your work environment. If you have your own business, if you're an entrepreneur, if you work with the public, you're closing that chapter that you have began. Or even in your relationship, some of you can be getting engaged, or deciding to propose, or getting into a relationship, or got into a relationship, and now you're feeling like you finally feel safe and secure in that relationship. And now we're off to the next sign, the last sign, which is Pisces. Rising and moon. You start off this month strong with the full moon in your 11th house, which is completing a cycle for you that began 6 months ago around February, that deals with your connections, it deals with your manifestation. So this could be a time when you have finally closed a chapter on a manifestation that you've had for some time now. This could be relating to your own inner thoughts, coming to revelations around what the kinds of changes that you need to make in your life. And therefore, you're able to now manifest that in your life, or you have some clarity around that, or some friends give you some kind of news, or some kind of clarity on something that deals with your mental health, or that deals with your physical health, or that deals with work. Now, or even in your relationships. This is an ending to a chapter and something that deals with your relationships, with your love life, children, or even your work and physical and mental health. So you're closing that chapter, and then for the remainder of the month, after the 6th, Venus will go back into your 5th house, where you had it like beginning of the summer, like May and June, and therefore you're going to be revisiting things that dealt with like your children, if you have any, or relationships, or love, maybe romance as well. This could be a time when you're feeling like rekindling romantic endeavors with either you're in your current relationship or with past relationships, or you're feeling like revising and making some major changes that needed to be made in your relationships. This could be a time when you're feeling like you're having to tweak and you're having to rearrange the contract or the terms of how you handle your relationships. And with this full moon, you're really getting the clarity as to how that's going to happen or what you need to do for that to happen. You're also, a lot of energy is going to your routine and your work and your everyday life and your health, mental and physical. Maybe you haven't been sleeping too well, or maybe you've been just really focused on your work environment. Check where sun is in your chart, because that's where most of your energy is going to. So for now, it's a lot of your energy. There's a lot of planets in your 6th house of health and wellness. So if anything comes up with your health, get it checked out right away, because Saturn is in your 12th house, forcing you to acknowledge anything that's hidden, anything that's no longer serving, you have to cut ties with. And then once Venus leaves this area, and you'll have Mars and Mercury until the 17th when Sun enters your 6th house. So be careful with work relationships and with ego clashes at work, or with people not wanting your best interest at work, or just like politics, like work politics, issues with that. You can come up against that. Or if you wanted to find a new job and a new work environment, then this is the time when you're feeling like this old these things that I was doing at work are no longer serving me, and now I want to do something new or something different, or pick up an old job that you used to have and now you're doing it again. Think about what was happening in your life from January, or like from January to March, because that's what's repeating for you in your love life and in your work environment. Just be careful with opposition at work, because there's a lot of opposition, or there's a lot of like people just being straight up rude to you, or straight up, your enemies, like they're showing you their true colors at this time. And you can be a little bit of combative as well yourself, like you're not holding back this time. So be careful with that, especially after the 23rd, when Mercury goes retrograde there with Sun in your 6th house. Your ego can get in the way of a lot of issues at work, so be careful with that. You're gonna have to revisit something, paperwork or some kind of situation that happened back in January. When it comes to your work environment, you're revisiting that. It's bound to happen when Mercury goes retrograde. Issues come up from the past, so you're revisiting that. And then Mars goes into your 7th house of relationships after the 18th, and while Mars is there in your 7th house of partnerships and contracts and relationships, you can either have a lot of energy towards spending more time within your marriage, if you're married, or in your relationship, or or in your home life, in your home environment. But you can also be bickering a lot. If you needed to, the ruler of your 7th, Mercury, is going to be retrograde in your 6th house. Maybe you decide you want to, if you were trying to move homes, or if you were trying to change work or day-to-day environment, now is the time after Mars goes into your 7th house when you do that. Maybe you move, or maybe you do some renovations, or maybe you decide that you want to change the dynamics of your relationships in some way. Your 4th house of home is getting really impacted. Your communication is getting impacted. You have to watch out how you communicate with your loved ones, with your family, with your mother. Your courage is getting impacted. Your finances are getting impacted as well. This is a time when you're going to have to just have a very strong routine, put your head down, work hard, deal with any issues that come up, especially in relationships. Just deal with them. Any issues in terms of your physical or mental health, just deal with it, and it'll get better. But it's just that there's a lot of movements that are happening in very pivotal houses, like Mercury is going to go retrograde in your 6th house of work and day-to-day life and health, and it rules over your 4th house of home and happiness and your 7th house of relationships. It's like your home and happiness and relationships are going to really be a big impact. Like you're gonna have to deal with that. You're gonna have to deal with something that comes up from the past in your home and in your relationships, like past issues, or if you have children, maybe something with your children that you're gonna have to deal with again from the past. Or if you don't have any children, then maybe it's just your love life, or maybe you want to have children and you've been wanting to for a while. Now is the time when it kind of happens. And then we end the month with a full moon in your 12th house. So this is 12th house. Full moon is never easy because it keeps you up at night, and it's like a lot of fears and a lot of doubt surfaces. So it's like a lot of fears, a lot of doubt, a lot of past insecurities can come up at this time for you to close them. So think about again what was going on, what intention you set for yourself back in February, in March, because that's what's going to be revisited and closed. That's the chapter that's going to be closed this month with the full moon on the 31st in your 12th house. It's looking at your 6th house, so that might be a completion to a cycle as it pertains to like your day-to-day environment, your health, your work, your what you do on a daily basis, your routine. This can also be pertaining to restructuring how you carry yourself and how you expend your energy, because Saturn in the 12th house is really bringing hidden enemies or hidden things, or even like could be the case that you have some kind of litigation that you have to deal with at this time. But ultimately, Saturn in the 12th house, like you win over your opposition, you win over your enemies. There can be some enemies that surface at this time this month, but you will overcome them after, working very hard. It's going to be, things are going to be on your side, but it's not going to be an easy ride. I would say this month is not bad. I mean, it's not the best month for you, but it's not a negative month either, because a lot of things, you can resolve a lot of situations as it pertains to your manifestations, your love life, your home environment, and your relationships. All of those things are really, you're going to get a lot of clarity on, and you can resolve a lot of things when it comes to that. But if you don't deal with them, then that's when it can be somewhat of a negative month. But I don't think it's going to be negative. I just think you're going to have a lot of past things that come up, past endeavors, like past love endeavors or work endeavors, or past relationship issues, home issues that come up that you need to take care of. And once you take care of it, then things come out, they end up being on your side. It's gonna be a time when you become healthier, when you affirm some kind of health routine that really helps you, and you become healthier as a result. This could also be a month when you decide that you want to travel somewhere. And that is it for this month. I hope you guys enjoyed it. I'm going to make a separate video for Mercury retrograde, as well as for Mercury retrograde and Mars transit in Virgo. Alrighty, I hope you enjoyed this. Bye.